Hi everybody, John back again. Some weeks ago now, Mikey, the big yellow rebel, had a video all about some of her favourite badass black divas. It was an interesting video, and I sat and watched it while my wife gave me a COVID cut, and I had sort of meant to follow up and make a video. I actually did, but I was about to post it. I thought it wasn't very tight, I could do a better job, so I'm sort of remaking that video now. So I'm going to give you a list of 5 badass black divas that I think would be on a good list. I try and stay away from the beaten track. You know, there's some big names out there many of us are familiar with, but I thought it might be interesting to bring some of the names that are a little bit more left field perhaps onto such a list. We're listening to now a very famous singer called Shirley Bassey. Shirley Bassey is a Welsh lady, and a Welsh lady of colour. She was actually born in England, I understand, to an English mother, and her father was sort of like a travelling seaman in the Merchant Navy, I believe, from, I think it was Nigeria that he's from. So they moved, when she was born, they moved from England to live in Cardiff, which is right, you know, the big port city at the south part of Wales, where obviously the Merchant Navy would have been coming into. And so she's born so she's raised in Wales, in this particularly southern part of Wales, and she's, you know, held as being really quite an important Welsh hero. I bought this record specifically to show this video, otherwise I don't have an awful lot by her. Here's another one that I have. This is one I pulled from my shelf. So Don Black, who's the chap that wrote the lyrics to Diamonds Are Forever, and he actually co-wrote a lot of songs with the man that wrote the James Bond themes. He, on a radio interview just recently, sort of declared that he thinks that all Bond themes really should have only been performed by either Shirley Bassey or Tom Jones. Tom Jones is another Welsh hero, and you know, between them, Shirley Bassey and Tom Jones, you can go into thrift stores anywhere in Wales, and you're always going to find some of their records there, for better or for worse. Yeah, there you go. That's how popular they are. What more can I tell you about Shirley Bassey? Oh, she was the first Welsh person to have a #1 hit single in 1959. I can't remember the name of the song, but I'll include it in here. Yeah, so yeah, a great performer. Certainly a very badass diva. So the next person on my list is a young lady called Deborah Dyer, who's English, and she fronts a rock band that became quite popular in the UK around about sometime in the 90s, around about the same time as the Britpop movement happened. So bands like Oasis and Blur and Pulp, she was sort of rubbing shoulders with bands like that in the charts when they first came. And I wouldn't necessarily say that this band, Skunk Anansie, that she fronts is a Britpop band, but yeah, because they're a bit more rocky, I think. And although they're not really heavy metal, they certainly are hard rock, and they were often, you know, featured in a lot of the rock magazines of the time. In fact, she's quite unique in that regard, that she's probably the only black female ever to appear on the front of Kerrang, for instance. So yeah, here's their first album. This came out in the 90s, and yeah, it's quite special in that you know, she really does embrace a lot of topics that you know, and quite brutally, quite honestly. So yeah, very dynamic individual. She's actually studied at university interior design, I believe, and also she works or has worked as a model. I don't know if she still does. Um, so yeah, that's Skin. Her stage name is Skin. You often hear on the radio these days, you know, she's someone that you know, journalists like to quote and talk to and ask questions, particularly in you know, in the recent history of you know, the Black Lives Matter campaign. She's had a lot to say about that, although she was saying it way before. The next person I'm going to talk about is someone that I've liked for quite some time, and that is this lady called Tatia. Now, she is Swedish, and most people would be more familiar with her sister, Nina Cherry. Nina Cherry had sort of hits in the sort of late 80s, early 90s, but they're half sisters. I understand their father is a man from Sierra Leone who lives in Sweden. Trying to remember their actual name. Well, Tatia is her actual real name is Tatia Yambula Felicia Jar. I can't tell you Nina Cherry's real name. So yeah, Tatia, this is a special record, special album for me. This was something that I discovered at a very sort of dark period of my life when I was, yeah, you know, between marriages, and it gave me a huge lift. And it's a very gentle record and very positive record, and yeah, so that's why I sort of particularly like her, and I like the art that she makes. She's made a few albums. It's interesting to think that, you know, there's a lot of these European countries, they all have sort of their own domestic pop scene that often doesn't really reach outside of their own, you know, borders. I mean, this is all in English, but you know, still, I don't know if there are many people outside of Sweden that would know who this individual is or be familiar with this record. But yeah, I don't think that's so uncommon. I'm sure a lot of the European countries have similar artists that are just known domestically. But yeah, great individual. So the next person on my list is somebody that I like to listen to, and that is Sheila E. I wasn't initially sure if she was black or not. I had to sort of look into this, and well, I'm quite satisfied that she is, at least, at least partially. Her father is quite a famous Mexican drummer or percussionist called Pete Escovedo, and I think it's through him that she's sort of, you know, acquired this talent for all things rhythmic. Sheila E is, you know, not just a drummer, but I suppose you'd say a percussionist as well, although I don't know what the difference is between those two things. But she's also a record producer, songwriter, you know, she has sort of had a hand in a lot of things. Very talented lady, works with Prince. In fact, I'm even playing the last track on this album, which is The Glamorous Life. And it sounds, you know, definitely very Princey, I think. He's obviously had a big influence on her life. But the thing that I believe qualifies as being a black diva is that her mother is actually Creole, and I think I'm right in saying that her mother is obviously, you know, mixed as Creole people are, but I would suggest that she was black. Hence, Sheila E is black. I've just decided. So this is her first album of hers that I have. It's not a bad record, but the one that I like of hers particularly is this. This is easily one of my favourite albums from the 80s. This is really Princey. I mean, you can even just look at this and see how Princey it is. Yeah, go check her out if you don't know her. So the last person on my list is, and I've saved the best for last, I think, is somebody I don't actually have any records or CDs by this person or their band. I've just never seen them, and to be honest with you, I don't know where you'd find them really. But I'll just, you know, explain. So, heavy metal. Most big names these days have tribute bands, you know. You can find an Iron Maiden tribute band, you can find a Metallica tribute band, I'm sure you can find Guns N' Roses tribute bands too, I don't know. There seems to also be a whole wave of female tribute bands as well, which is where you'll have a band, a big name, you know, Black Sabbath or AC/DC, and you'll find that there are groups entirely made up of female musicians that are paying tribute to some of these bands. It makes for quite an interesting mix. Now, there's a British heavy metal band, very famous, called Judas Priest. There's also a female tribute band to Judas Priest called Judas Priestess. I kid you not. You know, I'm kind of speechless really. I don't really know how to form my thoughts. I stumbled upon a performance once on YouTube by this band, and it just, you know, blew me away. I wasn't expecting to see it. I just, you know, clicked on it on YouTube just out of curiosity, and you know, my jaw dropped to the floor, and I was just amazed. And since then I've always kind of kept half an eye cocked towards this band to see, you know, other performances they do, you know, and they're not going anywhere. They've been around for a while. So the lead singer is a very, you know, dynamic individual whose stage name is what was it now? Militia Vox. Don't think that's her name, but I can't find really what her real name is. But and maybe it is a real name, but I just assume it's a stage name. I don't know. She's got a really impressive CV too, like so many of these other women that I've been speaking about. She's performed with many other, you know, rock artists. Appeared on many live shows, as well as you know, on people's records. But as far as I know, I don't think she actually has any kind of albums, you know, that are solely her own music published. I could be wrong, but I think really her sort of day job is fronting this tribute band to Judas Priest. Now, yeah, I'm going to put some cards up here that will take you to this very first performance that I stumbled upon, and be prepared. It's not for shrinking violets. This performance, but it's really cool. So I hope you go and look at that and enjoy it. You know, well, yeah. I can't say anything more than that. Anyway, so that's my 5 badass divas. Some more badass than others, but I think they're all badass. They're all certainly black divas. And well, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks very much for watching this far, and thanks very much Mikey the Big Yellow Rebel for planting this idea. Check out my next video. Bye.